Hey friend, welcome to eDiscover-Tea, from critique to change, sharing stories and expanding possibilities for the future of work in e-discovery, a podcast that brews up positivity and progress. I'm Becky, and along with my co-conspirators, Renee and Jill, we're here to pour out practical advice and inspiring conversations that illuminate what's really happening out in e-discovery land. In each episode, we'll uncover the truths and realities of e-discovery, shining a light on what's working, what needs improvement, and how we can drive meaningful change from the grassroots level. Our goal is to inform, uplift, and empower you with insights and strategies. Together, we can create a movement towards a more innovative, compassionate, and effective legal landscape. So grab your favorite cup, sit back, and let's infuse your day with positive energy and actionable wisdom. This is eDiscover-Tea. Hello, welcome back.
Hello. Hi.
These ladies. Hello.
So we are back. Our last episode was a focus on healing, and we wanted to sort of take you guys behind the scenes of how we sort of assisted ourselves along in talking about some of the more tough subjects early on in the podcast. And one of the things that we did was we had Rebecca, who is our guest today, come in and help us do some heart math, helped us really regulate ourselves and get us ready to have a really tough conversation. And, we thought, well, this is such a great tool that people in e-discovery need to know about this, specifically people in client-facing roles, because of how stressful it can be. This is an amazing tool that we're just learning, and it's something that is used in the military, with first responders. So people who are dealing with really legit stressful situations. So we thought, hey, let's share this with our audience. So we've invited Rebecca Dunaway here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Rebecca, so you can introduce yourself to those who are watching.
Thanks, Becky. Renee, Jill, thanks for having me here today. As Becky said, my name is Rebecca, and my professional career was primarily spent as a medical practice executive. I spent 35 years in the healthcare industry and certainly saw a lot of changes over time. And so many changes that maybe you can relate to this a little bit, that the demands, the stress, the shortage of staff, how we needed to respond, sense of urgency all the time, and really caring about the work that I really became burned out beyond recognition. That when you look in the mirror and you're like, wait a minute, who am I? I'm waking up mad about my day, or waking up stressed by my day, and I haven't even brushed my teeth yet. I mean, how's this possible? I mean, and even after getting a good night's sleep, still looking like maybe I had, a hangover when there was no alcohol involved. Cortisol for sure from the stress, but no alcohol. So researching this for traumatic brain injury patients we were working with, I stumbled upon really HeartMath, and started practicing it to share it with our patients and clients, and realized that it was really making a difference for me. And as it made a difference for me, it started like if you're hot, you sort of take off a jacket, you're like, wow, I feel a little better, and you take something else off and you feel a little better. I just kept feeling better and better, and realized that I wanted to share it with other people. And initially I had a little bit of an arrogance about it. It's like breathing and coherence. I've meditated, I've done yoga, I've done, the things that you've done. When you become 67 years old, you've done a lot of things. So, what can breathing in through the heart and the chest area do to help me become coherent? And it wasn't until I was driving on 71 South, and which is, for those of you not in Ohio, Interstate 71 is kind of like driving into a meat grinder. You're just agreeing to go into a meat grinder on your way to this destination. Yeah. And this was July 4th weekend. And I was starting to clench the wheel, and the bum was clenching. Everything was clenching as I'm driving. I'm like, wait a minute, I know what to do. So I started breathing in through my heart, out through my heart, and chest area, practicing the techniques. Before I knew it, we were in Cincinnati. When we got there, my son said, "How was the drive?" I'm like, "Great, no traffic." And there was traffic, no traffic. It's easy. My husband had something else to say. And so we had two different experiences, same car. Here was the beauty. My 1-year-old grandson at the time, I could get out of the car and go right to him without decompressing from the drive or just getting my wits about me again. And one thing about 1-year-old, at least our grandson, is that if you come in and he doesn't like your vibe, he doesn't want to have anything to do with you. Or if you're wound up, he will show you what wound up looks like, and he can do it better than you. So, kids will do that. And so I was able to just go right to him and be with him. And then I knew I needed to practice and do it. And with that said, if I may, can I just start with the first heart focus breathing?
I
And
love that. Yes.
okay.
Yes.
And the practice is, if you're with a group, if you allow everyone to just reset before you start, it's kind of like washing your hands. Like, healthcare is my background. We would wash our hands before we would touch the next patient. When you take this time to reset, it's like energetically washing yourself. So you're coming at this space with clean energy.
I love that analogy.
Yes.
Beautiful way
And
to
we
think about
would
it.
we would love for the audience, do this with us. Do it with
Mhm.
us. See, wherever you're at, this is something you can do eyes open, right, Rebecca?
Yep, eyes
Um,
open, eyes
or
closed. I did it
closed.
with my eyes opened on the freeway.
Yeah, I should hope.
So,
Good
so
choice.
yeah, do it with
Yeah.
us and see how it feels. And if you love it, and if you want to keep learning, there'll be opportunities for that. But yeah, do it with us. Take it
Okay,
away.
so all right, so this is heart focused breathing, and focus your attention in the area of the heart and the chest. If it helps, you can put your hand over your heart and imagine your breath is flowing in through the heart and out through the heart. Breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. Breathing into the count of 5, out to the count of 5, whatever rhythm feels right to you. Doing this 2 or 3 more times. And when you're ready, just notice how you're feeling after that. This piece is called Heart Focused Breathing, and it's a foundational tool of everything that we use with HeartMath. How are you ladies feeling after that?
My my I don't want to say calmer because I don't think that's the right word, but um I think more focused, but not in like a very like in an anxious way.
Mhm.
Just like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I can feel my heart rate a little lower, slower, and I just check my watch and it's like way lower than it was when I sat down. And so yeah, just like prepared.
Mhm. Paired, focused, calmer.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I feel more relaxed, but not, like you said, like not unfocused. It's like there's just a like a relaxation that kind of takes place where your body just sort of slows down a little bit, but it's not like, oh, I'm ready for a nap, right? It's like now I'm ready to let's move forward, right? Like there's just a different kind of feeling. And for me, I would mention too, just because I don't, if people are doing this for the first time, like that can be, it can be a really new experience for them. I definitely feel like sensations physically. Like I can feel, I'm more attuned to the beat of my heart. I can feel it kind of beating in my chest a little bit. Um, Sometimes, not today, but sometimes when I do this, it can bring up a little bit of emotion
Mhm.
through that breathing process. So there are sensations that come along with it that are physical and emotional, besides just the sense of calmness.
Mhm.
Um, for me, I've suffered from anxiety for many years, actually, probably since I was a kid. For me, learning this technique has really helped me um, get present. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not, when I'm doing this, I'm not thinking about, like, what if this went wrong? Or what did I miss on this? Or, you know what I mean? It brings me back to the present and really brings my focus to myself and my body, which is, something that can then help me, like, okay, I feel relaxed. Now I can move on to the next thing and be a little bit more present in my day.
Yeah. What you all described is what they call active calm. I guess I call it too what we call active calm. And it's so that we can go about our day not sleepy, headed, or ready for a nap, but in an active calm. So this tool is used for Navy SEALs, first responders, Olympic athletes, hospital settings. It's really important. And I know that there's been work in academic settings before taking tests. So that being able to do this before taking a test, that you declutter in a way all the other emotions that are there, and you drop into something we call coherence. And that's something that's measured through heart rate variability and the heart rate rhythm. And I have a sensor here. I'll show you later. So coherence, one of the things with coherence is we talk a lot about the autonomic nervous system, where the body is doing this in an automated way. So we have the sympathetic nervous system, which is typically thought of as fight or flight. The cortisol that I mentioned earlier is produced when we're in that fight or flight state. I'm not suggesting that eDiscovery creates a situation of chronic stress that could lead to PTSD or something
I
like
would.
You don't have to
I
suggest it.
It
I'd
does.
say that.
I mean, cortisol
I'll say
for
it for you.
me I think it was super present. As soon as I left the industry, I dropped 65 pounds. Like that tells me something. So, yeah.
So instead of our cup of tea that we're having, you check in and say, "Could I have my daily cup of cortisol? I'm getting ready to start."
Pretty
Basically,
much.
Just
yeah.
start
Pretty
drinking the
much.
cortisol.
I mean, you were
Um,
talking, Rebecca, about the, you know, how this practice helps people be present um, in hospitals, and the washing of your hands. It's such a beautiful analogy. I think about an e-discovery. I don't know if you want to, if you're going to speak to this, but I think about an e-discovery, especially in client-facing roles where people are going from back-to-back calls and having to rush to go to the bathroom to relieve themselves and come right back into the next call. And I don't know that people are really taking the time to prepare from one situation to the next, how present people actually are in those scenarios, yet we want to be all that we can be for the client who's, paying for our expertise. And I wonder like how this could help folks take, 5 minutes, maybe practice not going from one situation to the next, right? Just very deliberately, but also how they can use these techniques to really think about how they structure their day, how their day is going to be impacted by back to back to back and just jumping from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. Just already I'm so, I just find this so helpful and how, we can help other people just by you being here. So I'm just so grateful. But yeah, wanted to
well,
say
thank
that
you.
out loud. Yeah.
Well, you created a good tip between clients going to the restroom. When you're done, as you're washing your hands with your eyes open, you could practice this breathing in through the heart and out through the heart. And a minimum of 60 seconds doing that. And, what is it, the happy birthday song or whatever it is to wash your hands anyway. And it also kind of, this is not a heart math, this is a Rebecca, but it also breaks a connection. When you wash your hands, you just kind of like, okay, I'm finished with that. And you can move on to the next. And so we've established that e-discovery can cause PTSD and that you can be getting your proverbial cup of cortisol for the day. And so you're really in the sympathetic nervous system at that point. Your body's in fight or flight, and you're in rapid movement, survival. So your digestion is going to be compromised because if you're being, like, from an evolutionary standpoint, if you're being chased by something that wants to do you harm, you're not going to stop and maybe have a intestinal elimination, a bowel elimination, right? And so, many people, when they're in a lot of stress, they stop having normal bowel movements, to talk about that a little bit, because it's okay, yeah. And we all feel better when we have a good poop, right? So, it's like, I mean, and having that regularly. So I'm gifting you that. So, yeah.
My husband wants me to stop talking about it, but yes.
Yes, yeah. So a lot of the normal bodily functions, including creativity, because when you are in that fight or flight, your goal is survival, not to restore, regenerate, or rest. Or so the problem solving that you would need to do would be different. You're running to go back to back to back to back to back meetings, client facing. You're running all day. And sometimes in that running, I might suggest that you're carrying with you whatever was left over from the prior meeting. So if this was a tricky call or a great one, that can come with you to the next one and the next one and the next one. And by the end of the day, whatever was unfinished, maybe even emotionally, you may not get back to complete it. And then it's left as, and maybe subconsciously as an unfinished item, where it's like, I need to make a note that this client responds better when I do XYZ. And yet when you have 3 minutes ideally between, you can clear that. And when you drop into the parasympathetic system, even enough to just interrupt that rapid pace work, it allows you to have some, well, it stops the cortisol production, but it also allows you to have a little bit of a restoration period. Like your breathing can return to a normal, your blood pressure can return to normal for you. And you can start that creative process because you're tapping into your brain. And it may actually improve how you respond to the next situation. Why it's so useful for first responders, which essentially you are. You're responding all day long.
Mm-hmm.
So moving from a active shooter, you might have an eDiscovery, somebody coming at you like, why didn't or whatever that happened. You could move from that to a cat needs taken down from a tree. And you don't want to go at it with the same energy or the same leftover response. And we've all known of the situations where traffic violations have turned into something beyond recognition. And mostly because what was being brought with that person had very little to do with the traffic violation. That's extreme. But yet that's why we teach this. Any questions?
Yes, I have questions.
Okay.
I would, we're talking to people who are heavily logic focused, right? They do a lot of like work in their brains and their in logic. I mean, we're talking to lawyers or, people who are in the legal field. And so, they might be listening and think this sounds great, but like based on what? And so I would love for you to share a little bit about like the studies around HeartMath, the scientific research that's been done around this technique, if there's any like particular, finding you think that would be persuasive, just what can you share with us about the kind of research that's been done around, the power of this, of HeartMath and the techniques?
That's a good question. So they've done 400 plus research studies dating back to 1991. They've been published in the Journal of American Medical Association, JAMA, Neurocardiology, and many psychiatry and psychology journals. So what they've done, their research starts with using EEGs. They also use skin sensors and measuring the breathing as well, respiration. And I have one of the more simple ear sensors here. So one of the things that they've done is they've measured police officers and couples who agreed to participate, as well as humans and animals, and get the baseline of where the person is. And there's then an incident that would cause anger, frustration, an argument, or undue stress. So the baseline of where the person is jumps up to create what we would call fight or flight, anger. And our natural immune system then stops. Well, it doesn't stop, but it drops. Those numbers drops. And the studies show this. They've drawn blood. They've to continue the monitoring. So without something that would help the person to come back to base, they can stay at that elevated, incoherent state for days.
Wow.
It can be easily 60 minutes. I'm going way down here now. Easily 60 minutes before it's even halfway to where it was before. So whatever you're doing next, the research shows you're still in that agitated state. I'm using that word. It could be many things, right? When using a tool to help you reset, you can drop back to where you were in less than 5 minutes, and in many times 2 to 3.
Wow.
Long-term effect of this is when, let's say, we'll say lawyers who are, really under a lot of stress, as well as the profession in general. It's a high stress profession. That the research has shown staying in that elevated state for 30 days, you may still be doing good work. The adrenaline is really helping you. 45 days, it starts to flatten out. You're not still getting the good work. You're starting to flatten out. By 60 days, your performance actually diminishes, comparatively speaking, to where you were before, because you're not resting and restoring. So then the research has indicated sleep disruption when you stay in that state. It can show all kinds of health-related issues because you're not in the parasympathetic. So their research has actually gone in a different way than what I'm describing, that they've worked with hospitals, police departments, Kaiser Permanente, and they actually measured before and after everything from days off, health insurance claims, quality of life, and what that means, as well as normal blood pressure, sleep, which we forget how important sleep and to rest would be. So the research is a strong indicator that resetting quickly can have a major impact on both your performance and your overall health. Olympic athletes use this tool, and others. It's one of the things that they do, and many athletes do it naturally when they drop into the zone. They are doing it. And I like to think about it as if we really were Olympic marathoners. And eDiscovery could be considered, your job is long distance running at a fast speed. Not just long distance running, but at a fast speed. No time to stop and eat, or, what Renee was talking about earlier. They would not expect of their body the next day to do the exact same thing again. They're being timed. They know how fast they can go. And they get feedback that they're going slower when they don't take proper care to restore and reset. How does that work in the workplace? Restoring throughout the day. Doing it even if it's in traffic. the grocery store, any times to be able to reset. So that when you do have time to do the things that you enjoy and rejuvenates you, you haven't just completed a marathon and you don't have the energy to do those things that rejuvenate you. The science also suggests that the intuitive, non-local intuition is enhanced when you're in the coherent state. From the standpoint of solving a case, or not solving, defending, or whichever way you're going, supporting or defending, to tap into the non-local intuition of, I wonder about this angle, if we approach it from this angle, what that would do for the case. It has a direct correlation to improving that ability when you're in a coherent state. When they do functional MRIs, when you're in a coherent state, you can see where different parts of your brain light up or are active. And we want that prefrontal cortex to light up, because that's where all the executive functioning is happening.
Mm-hmm.
You are seriously blowing my mind right now.
I mean,
I'm like, how do we force people to do this? Like, please,
yes,
please help yourselves.
please, yes, because as you were talking, I can think, my mind is just like, I can think of all of the different ways we abuse people with, like, unintentionally, but this industry, I think I said it, in a prior episode, where a lot of the high performing project management teams, people, PMs, can't think of the word. A lot of those professionals stay in this state where Rebecca was describing, like they're just at this heightened fight or flight mode. I called that like being a functional alcoholic. You can get the work done, you're loaded, but you can get the work done and people might not notice. And what's really interesting in eDiscovery is the really high performing people, even when their performance dips a little bit, they're still better than others that may be perceived as not as good as. So, Becky at 70% or 50% is better than Susie Q at 90%.
Mm-hmm.
And people take that risk in our business all the time. Eventually Becky will take a break. Oh, she hasn't eaten, but oh, she's so good. Good for, I'm so happy she sacrificed herself. People want to call that resilience, which I hate that word in our industry.
That's exploited.
100%.
Becky's word. You're being exploited.
100%. And so I love this. And I hope leaders are listening, because we are not doing ourselves, our clients, a favor by not recognizing that people are in this state and legit could just drop dead, like, at some point. And so I love this. I just love it. I want to encourage, like, I've been in meetings where the company, a couple of different instances I can think of where friends have told me they were invited to mandatory meetings where a coach was brought in to teach, different departments to learn to communicate with each other. Not saying that's not a useful tool, right? But I question the motivation there, right? If you want a team that feels dominant to endure listening to other people explain why they don't understand why you're dominant, right? Why your energy seems to fill the room when I'm a client-facing professional and my voice isn't heard. That's just conflict, right? And those meetings, in my opinion, were not made to make people come together. They were made to like make people understand what their role is. And that's just not helpful for a team.
Mhm.
Instead, I encourage people, hire Rebecca, because
Yes.
in 3 minutes, you can help your team remember that they're the important one and their role is what it is because they've centered themselves in a way and prepared themselves to do the job, you know, at a high level because they're ready, not because they have endurance and, you know, resilience to jump from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. You want someone who is so taking care of themselves that they will take care of your clients. And I've been, you know, I've been preaching this for a long time, but it's so wonderful to have, you know, Rebecca in the world that can help people understand that, like, look, this is important. Your people are important. Make them like through your action, help people understand that you care about them enough to bring someone like Rebecca to your next meeting. And you know, maybe in addition to the communication coaching, right? Because here the motivation is specific. I just want to make sure you're taking care of yourself
Mhm.
and not just like, here's this, you know, here's this link to a place where nobody's really going to be available to you for the next 6 months. Because I did call myself. It took a
Mhm.
year for me to get someone to call me when I was like, you know, suicidal, not helpful.
No,
Yeah.
in
So,
fact, that's unhelpful.
mhm, mhm.
Wow. That adds to, that reinforces the opinion you had about the administration not really caring and having an ulterior motive. And it was something they were saying, but they weren't doing.
Hence my lack of bowel movement. But
I have two sons. And so you probably, I mean, boys, you know, they have conversations in that way.
yes.
Yes.
Um, you know, the thinking of, well, the heart, when there's all different kinds of breathing and all breathing is focusing on the breathing is helpful. Why breathing through, imagining the breath is coming in through the heart and the chest area, is the heart has an intrinsic value role of letting the body know how it's supposed to feel and react. Now, the brain likes to take over because the brain's the brain just doing its job. But the heart is saying, oh, it's okay right this minute to just relax for a minute. And they have science behind this too, and that the heart communicates more with the brain than the brain does with the heart. And the heart communicates more to the body, radiates it out, and it radiates it out farther because the heart's a drum, right? So when we're beating this out, you know, we may or may not notice it or hear it in other people or even ourselves, but it does. And the thing that can happen is people around you can begin to feel that shift in you. Um, and it has been shown to help the other person start to regulate too. So let's say on a team of 5, if 1 or 2 people came to the meeting in a coherent state, it would influence the other 3. I don't know. I've been really agitated before, and something kind of, just, you know, ruffled my feathers in the wrong direction. And other people in the meeting have been completely coherent. And so I couldn't hold that emotion or frequency of being agitated because there wasn't any place for me to complain about it or anything else, because the others were talking business and being focused on what was happening. And this isn't heart math, but what I've noticed is that when I'm with other people who are coherent, or when I'm coherent, I'm less likely to complain and more likely to become engaged in trying to find a solution. And what I've experienced is I become depleted. After complaining. Yeah, rather than renewed. We all need, it helps to get something off of our chest, as they say, off the chest. But having it be maybe a defined amount of time that's right for you, or I'm just suggesting, I'm not saying, and I will say I can't do that all the time. And my goal is 50-50. If 50% of the time I can show up and not say, you wouldn't believe what happened on my way here, or whatever, just whatever, in the day, can you believe what that doctor did and they demanded, or whatever it was, just to relive it a little bit. I don't think it ever made me feel better. And yet having a place where you can be validated and understood about the difficulty of the situation and the work environment of eDiscovery, that there's a fundamental problem that's creating emotional, physical, and mental stress for people. To find an appropriate solution for the individuals and maybe the organization as a whole, I don't consider that complaining. I consider that heroic.
I will share, Rebecca, you and I sat in a group setting together for a few months, and there were definitely some big personalities in the room. Some people who just took up space, right? I previously have been one of those people. I'm in a quiet era of my life a little bit. So I don't talk as much as I used to, but I know that energy, and it's okay. It's fine. But what I will say is that, we went through several meetings within this group where there was like a lot of energy coming out, and there wasn't conflict. That's not what it was. Um, but there were certain individuals who kind of took up the space in the room. And when Rebecca paused us somewhere along the way of, one of the many meetings, and we did the quick coherence together as a group, there was a fundamental shift in how I experienced the meeting, and I think how everybody else experienced the meeting too. Those people who were really charged up and who had those big personalities and had a lot to talk about were much more calm, more collected, listened more, right? And it just, neither one is good or bad. There's no judgment here. It wasn't bad before. It just, I offer this to share that like Rebecca and I have in a situation witnessed the shift that can take place in a group setting when it just changes the nature of the conversation. It changes the energy of the conversation. And in that particular case, you know, we did the quick coherence technique. So we had an intention. We were focused on an intention in addition to the breathing. But it really did shift the nature of the conversation in for me a positive direction, because for some people they're more sensitive to that. That's overwhelming to them. They can't handle too much of that, right? So maybe they don't show up to meetings, or maybe they're checked out during meetings and they don't want to participate during meetings, right? When it calms everybody, including those people who are usually, you know, out in front, it creates space for everybody to participate at the level that they want to. So I think that, you know, that was a really powerful experience for me. And it was real. I mean, I believe in HeartMath because I've been doing it, but that I was like, wow, this could be transformational for groups of people who work together or do things together.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It really was. It happened very quickly. And I really appreciate the fact that 3 meetings prior that you didn't mention that I said, and if all the meetings are going to be this way, it's a waste of my time and I'm never coming back.
You did
So
say that.
Yeah,
I
I did say
forgot, but
that.
you did say that.
I did say that. Yeah. So I'm just
So
saying
you
that
needed it too.
yeah, like somebody needed to say it to me because I was it was too much for me. I was like, ah. So it happens to everyone. The other thing that happened is that these ladies know I took a bad fall around December, right before Christmas, and I had a concussion. And I wasn't, it was just, you know, it's a concussion. And HeartMath isn't designed for people who have concussions. But what I discovered once I'm like, I'm just dysregulated right now. Once I started really intentionally practicing throughout the day, regulating my energy and coherence, a lot of my ability to clear the fogginess that is associated oftentimes with a concussion, it was better. And the stress associated with a concussion, like how is it going to have long term, you know, my mind can go all these ways. What's going to happen? When I was less stressed, the quality of my sleep improved. My ability to know when I needed to take a break and not push through. And I'm going to suggest for this group, listening to your body. And take a break when it's needed. To break out of the cycle of that and not going into meetings, as Jill was saying, where you're bringing everything from the day into a meeting where you have the potential to solve or contribute to solving a situation that might actually create a positive change in the workplace. When we're coming to those events like I did when I said, nah, I'm never coming back, I wasn't helpful. And maybe some of you have experienced that, asked to participate on a committee or give feedback, and you never know if somebody really wants to know your answer. So with HeartMath, what they're suggesting is that we have also the ability to have the energy to do the things that rejuvenate us. Many of us are working to support ourselves, our families, and to have a sustainable income and work for that reason. And to do so much of that work at the expense of forgetting what makes you tick, forgetting what restores you. And so the question could be, how do you want to feel when you start the part of your day that rejuvenates you? And can we do a little exercise?
Yes, please.
Yes.
We'll do something called a quick coherence, which is heart focused breathing. This one we're going to do with eyes closed, and remembering the feeling of appreciation, care, or love. So a time where you had great appreciation for someone, a place, thing. I mean, we can maybe appreciate our phones or I don't know, somebody, whatever, but or care, and not over care, but like genuine care. And love, maybe holding a pet, hugging a pet, a loved one, child, grandchild, something like that, that feeling. So give me a thumbs up when you have that feeling. All right. So what will happen is doing the same breathing we did before. The second part is then breathing in that feeling you've chosen and breathing it out. The science shows it activates the heart to send to the body, oh, I'm experiencing this now. All right. So close our eyes. Ready? And if it helps, put your hand on your heart. Focusing your attention in the area of the heart and the chest. And imagining your breath is flowing in through the heart and out through the heart. While breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. To a rhythm, the in-breath matches the out-breath. Maybe the count of 5 in and the count of 5 out. A rhythm right for you. On the next breath in, breathing in a feeling of appreciation, love, care. Breathing that feeling in through the heart and out through the heart. After a few more breaths, noticing how you feel. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. Anyone want to share their experience?
Since I'm the one crying, I guess I'll start. Uh, the gratitude sometimes is so overwhelming. It makes me emotional. Um, and when I thought about gratitude, I thought about my sister and Jill and Becky during a really tough year and a really tough 5 months. And all of the love I felt every time I was just broken. Um, and it's a separate kind of gratitude I have for my husband. But I thought of all of those people and all the love that they had for me, and how even when they weren't, because I haven't, during most of this time, I've been alone. My husband works away from home, and Becky and Jill are in a different state. My sister's in a different state, but I felt it so very, like, absolutely. Um, and I was just that's the first thing that came to me, like, so grateful for that love that did help, you know, me remember who I was. Um, so anyway, it made me cry.
The emotion of gratitude.
Yeah, I'm overwhelmed. I mean, I'm also I'm also a Christian, and even sometimes I think about God's love, it overwhelms me. I can't, so that's how I show it, if I take the time to really sit and wonder about all of the ways he's held me up, kept me, I will just start crying. So, but anyway.
Thanks.
Becky, I'm gonna call you out.
Um, I would say for me, um I was tapping into, our family. We just had the last of the greatest generation. Our grandfather's sister, she was, I think, 97 or 98, passed away this week. And I was thinking about that led me to think about my grandmother. And it got me thinking about that whole generation that's gone. But then I immediately took my thoughts to being a little girl and being on my grandmother's lap, and how that was like the safest and most loving place that I could ever feel when I was little. And so, again, it took me from that to just gratitude and love that I had that time with them, that I was that little kid who would prefer hanging out with the old people over playing with the cousins in the backyard. Um, that it's made me who I am today. And so I really think, like, I feel like we're all, like, once we get into those thoughts about, whatever we want to think strongly about, it somehow always leads to me, the greatest energy of all, which is love, which to Renee's point to me is God or the universe or whatever the great, you know, thing, energy, whatever it is that connects us all. The oneness and unity of being a human. It's like bringing me right back to my humanity as well. So that's what I felt.
That's beautiful.
How about you, Jill?
Yeah, I was focused on love. Um, and I thought about my husband and my son and like hugging them, like just all of us being together and just holding each other and just really feeling in the present moment that like overwhelming feeling of love that you get from time to time. It's like it's not always there, right? But I think all of us, whether you have like no matter what your family situation is or maybe even your life situation, there's I think I want to say everyone can find a feeling of love for something. And so, pulling that kind of like into my body, like from my memory, and then like just holding it as I breathe. And it just like the sensation of the breath is really, it just feels so deep. It's just like when you're in the feeling of love and you're breathing into love, like it just feels like a really like deep breath. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. Maybe people who have tried this like understand what I'm talking about because that's one of those things I feel like it's hard to like words don't really do it justice. It's hard to put it into words exactly. But by holding on to that and then kind of leaving the thoughts alone and just focusing on the feeling, once I was able to find it and then breathing into it when we were done, it like it felt full. I felt like full of it. I felt in that moment when we opened our eyes, I felt happy. I felt, like it changes your mood almost. Um, and that is a really beautiful thing because I feel like we spend, well, I don't know about other people. Well, I can make assumptions about other people, but for me, I'll speak for myself. Like I spend a lot of time in my head thinking, planning, designing, right? Creating, whatever it is, right? And this is something that is just different. When you sit in the feeling of love or gratitude or whatever, it's just a different experience. And it's easy to forget that that's available to us if we only want to call on it. And this is a great practice to be able to bring those feelings in because they are there for us and we can create them within ourselves. So, yeah.
I don't know if it's something that people tend to appreciate as they get older. I know, in my 20s, I don't know that I would have been able to appreciate this. Um, and the ambitious 30s, right? That's usually how that goes. You know who you are in your 20s, you're ambitious in your 30s, and 40s start like trying to figure out who you are. But I hope that for the folks in eDiscovery who are at any age or any stage of their career, that they don't wait until they're sick to take advantage of something like this. It's just so helpful. Um, and Rebecca, I don't know if this is related, but I recall being so stressed. When you say you can't catch your breath and what that means, you're like, I can't catch my breath. And there was a point when I was in my healing phase that I realized, I haven't had that sensation in a while. I can breathe deeply. Huh. And just especially after the first time we all did HeartMath together, and remembering that that tool is available to me, it really just does help bring you back to like, I'm awake. Oh yeah, that's right. I can breathe. I don't have to, it's that constant fight or flight thing. It's not like a healthy place to be in. And it's also not okay for anyone to encourage you to stay there. You're not doing your best work, no matter what anyone tells you. Listen to your body. And so yeah, I'm even just grateful for this moment. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Your testimonials, the three of you saying it's so much better than I could have, been experiences are, it's the feeling that the body responds to rather than the situation.
Mm.
Because you're all sitting in the same place and we're all sitting in the same place. And yet what you were describing is a shift in like all of these things that were coming up. Nothing else changed. No one came in and hugged you or sent you a text or anything else. It was the feeling around it. And your heart sent that out of, oh, this is how we feel. And that can be done the inverse. It could be the awkwardness, all the awkward feelings, whatever they are, depleting feelings. When we are breathing those in, we're creating a situation that we might not be experiencing in that exact moment. And so we're creating more of that for our body. We might not be at work, but we're breathing in the feeling that we might have experienced at work while at home or while engaged in something that would renew us.
That's deep.
For real. And
That is deep.
when you were
And
talking, I was thinking,
and so
yes.
my practice, which is not exactly a HeartMath practice, but my practice, and again, it's not 100%. It's when, I'm being intentional and I know I want to do this, is when I'm down at the office today, how do I want to feel when I go home in my house and do the things that I'm going to do at home? How do I want to feel when I see my husband, my dog, my plants, whatever it is, right? How do I want to feel? And then I start with eyes open, breathing that feeling in through the heart and out through the heart as I'm either driving home or walking home, whatever the case may be. So by the time I get there, my body's like, okay, I'm here. I did that exercise with a director of a chemotherapy department. He's saying the days are so hard, and it's the work is also. And so we're talking about, well, how do you want to feel when you see your three boys? And did this, and we did the exercise breathing in through the heart, and we're done. He was just crying. He said, I do not greet my family with that feeling. I bring them all the feelings that I had from the day, including people who he knew would probably pass. We haven't stayed in contact because it was a workshop. Yet I suspect that he will be practicing that for his three children, if not for himself, which would be even the better way.
What's so beautiful about that and about this tool and this technique is that it is really about you. It is about you. It is intensely personal. And so, like you said, Rebecca, no matter what is happening outside of you, no matter how bad the company is that you work for, no matter how bad the environment is, no matter how shitty the client is to you, this is about how you know, within yourself get through these things, right? And it's like nothing else may change. But maybe if everybody starts doing it, things will change, right?
Yes.
Like it has that kind of power. But if nothing else changes, like if you could leave your workstation, take 2 minutes or 3 minutes to do this practice and greet your family in a new way, right? Leaving work, like really truly shifting out of work and into, something that you love, a feeling of love, like that's transformational. It's truly transformational. And
It
not,
might.
you don't need
It's
a
an
leader to
inside
do this
job.
for you. Yes, you don't
It's
need
an
anybody to do it for you.
Mm.
This is about you taking control of the situation that you're in and finding a pathway to finding, some semblance of well-being, some semblance of joy or happiness in spite of everything.
This is like so true. And it's just more confirmation that your feelings do matter. You matter. Um, I've been in the presence of leaders who would consistently in meetings say, I don't give a hoot about those people's feelings. I don't give a hoot. This is business, you know? And to that I say, no, your feelings do
Mhm.
matter. The people who are working for you, their feelings matter. And if you got to, like I said, it's like Rebecca's been saying, like Jill's been saying, like Becky's been saying, whatever you have to do, listen to your body, do that so that you're better for the situation, even if the situation itself doesn't change, or the people like those who say your feelings don't matter, you don't have to believe them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We don't have to believe them. And yet we've been conditioned to think that without pain, we can't feel better. I mean, Nike, right? No pain, no gain,
Mm.
which has a whole Greek mythology association with it too about pain or overdo. However, the tool where people, I'm going to urge the listeners, some things don't have to be hard. This tool is very easy. And many times we've been conditioned to think suffering and pain is the only way. Simply breathing in through your heart and out through your heart or chest area and breathing in a renewal feeling is easy to do. And I kind of liken it to Pilates. Sometimes these little movements show the biggest results in our bodies over time, as opposed to heaving big weights, which also does. I don't want to discount that. I want to stress this because I've experienced it and other people who I've worked with have experienced this. It's too easy. How can something so easy work for me? And when we've been conditioned to experience hard things every day, experiencing something easy can be a little foreign. So when you try it, be patient with yourself and realize good things can feel good and can come easy.
Yes.
Toast to you, Rebecca.
No, I'll toast all of you. I'm so grateful to have been on this show and with all that you're doing and with the listeners. And, if anyone wants, they can reach out to you all if they want to know any more information or any of the science. Oh, I did want to say there's a free app that you can download on your iPhone. And I think it would probably work with any other phone. And it's called Global Coherence. It's a free app. And the camera on the back of your phone, you put your finger on it. And it will measure your heart rate variability with that camera. It's 100% free. And if the ladies of this group want to, I can create a name of the app within it, a group that's your name.
Oh,
And so that you can invite people to come in and use it and then measure the coherence level of your group if you would like to do that. And then you can send that out with the instruction, which I'll send you.
I love that.
Please and
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we will be sure to, in the show notes, include all of Rebecca's contact information, some of the research for you research people out there. And then obviously we're 100% going to direct people to this app, because, we're also creating a community where we're trying to create a movement of people doing things in eDiscovery to try to make their own lives better, and therein ripple out to the people that they work with and for. So,
And let me know what name.
Yes.
I can create the name for you. And
Yeah, we'll just do eDiscover-Tea.
Yep.
all right,
eDiscover-Tea.
eDiscover-Tea. I'll create it.
And this has been amazing. Thank you so much for all of your time and your wisdom. And I just love you to death. Like, I love listening to you. And I just, when Rebecca's involved, I'm just going to sit down and listen. So
I know. I think this is the quietest Becky has ever been on an episode. I'm like, are you there? Hello?
Yeah. Except when you're at the meeting where I say, if this is how it's going to be, it's a waste of my time and I'm not coming back and I'm leaving right now.
Rebecca, you know what I would have been like, and I second that.
That's her jam.
It is. It
wasn't one of my finer moments, but it was a moment.
We all have them. Well, yes. Ladies, do you have any other questions for Rebecca? Any other comments or anything?
No,
before
you know
we
what I'm gonna say?
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Can we all send care to California to Renee's?
Yes.
People in LA, they need help.
Yes. Yep.
Help and prayer.
Yeah, for sure. Sending love to you all. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this show. And please, sign up, join us in community. But yes, again, thanks, Rebecca, for participating and sharing your wisdom today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See y'all on the flip.
Bye.
Next one. Thank you for joining us on this episode of eDiscover-Tea. We hope today's conversation helped you feel seen, heard, and validated in the challenges you face in the workplace. You are not alone, and together we're building a community where we can share our struggles, lift each other up, and drive meaningful change. If this episode resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can join us for future episodes where we'll continue these important discussions. Whether we reach one person or thousands, our efforts here will be worth it. If you have stories to share or are in need of support and we can help, fill out the form linked in the show notes. We'd love to hear from you. On behalf of Jill, Renee, and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.